It has been almost 9 months since I built this Bowl Waterfall Scape, and as it approaches that milestone next week, I thought it would be the perfect time to give you an update before I finally dismantle it to make space for some new projects. This has honestly been one of my favorite builds of the year. There's something incredibly satisfying about seeing this miniature landscape evolve over time, both technically and visually. Watching it transform from a bare concept into a living, breathing micro-landscape has been such a rewarding experience. And it's a kind of setup I definitely plan to recreate in future builds. From the very beginning, this scape demanded a fair bit of attention. The bowl's shallow design, combined with the constant cycling of water through the pump, meant that evaporation happened quite quickly. I found myself topping up the water almost every other day to keep the flow consistent and the pump running smoothly. It may sound tedious, but honestly, that small bit of effort was well worth the joy of seeing this little world come alive on the terrarium shelf. In the early stages, I used to mist the plants and moss daily to maintain high humidity and encourage growth. Over time, as the setup matured, I reduced the misting frequency, and surprisingly, it didn't make much of a difference. The key factor here was the geotextile base and the sphagnum substrate, which together ensured consistent hydration for the plants and moss. This constant moisture balance kept the greenery lush without much manual intervention. If you look closely now, you'll see how the moss has completely taken over the base of the waterfall. The rocks and pebbles that were once clearly visible are now almost entirely hidden beneath a thick green carpet. There's also a bit of algae buildup, which is natural in such a moist and illuminated environment. I actually like how it contributes to the aged organic look. It gives the scape a touch of realism, like a tiny forest stream that's been there for years. The moss has even started creeping up the lava rock barrier at the back, which I find fascinating. It's always amazing to see nature claim every possible surface. Now, not every plant thrived in this environment. The baby tears were one of the first to give up, probably because they didn't appreciate the constant wetness and lack of dry cycles. However, the snowbush, Pilia depressa, and Pilia microphylla adapted beautifully. These species handled the humidity and low light quite well, adding contrasting textures and shades of green throughout the scape. For nutrition, I provided a weekly dose of liquid fertilizer, which boosted plant growth significantly. As a result, I had to perform several trimming sessions over the months to maintain the overall proportions and keep the scape balanced. Coming to the technical side, I'm happy to say that the pump performed flawlessly throughout these 9 months. As long as I kept the water topped up, the flow remained smooth and consistent. That steady trickle of water was the heart of this design. It added both movement and sound, transforming the bowl into something far more immersive than a static micro-landscape. But now it's finally time to dismantle this setup. You can see how dense the root system of the snowbush has become. It's anchored deeply into the substrate and around the rocks. If I were to leave this running for a few more months, those roots would have taken over the entire bowl, eventually clogging the pump and disrupting the waterfall's flow. This is a good reminder that such designs, while beautiful, do require annual root maintenance if you plan to keep them functional for the long term. As I carefully take apart the setup, it's interesting to notice how well the system held up overall. I'll be reusing most of the materials from this build, including the substrate, rocks and plants, in future scapes. Nothing goes to waste here. That's one of the joys of working with small ecosystems like these. Every project leaves behind both materials and lessons that carry forward to the next creation. Looking back, this Bowl Waterfall Scape has been more than just a decorative piece. It's been an experiment in understanding microhabitats. It taught me how water movement influences plant growth and how maintenance frequency can change as a scape matures. Most importantly, it reminded me that even small-scale designs can deliver big satisfaction when they're thoughtfully planned and cared for. So yes, while it's always a bit emotional to take apart a system that's been alive and thriving for so long, I see it as part of the creative cycle. Every ending makes room for a new beginning, a new idea, a new scape, a new challenge, and that's what keeps this hobby so exciting. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy scaping.